First exercise is the chest to bar pull-up. You'll see that I'm doing these very explosively. The goal here is not hypertrophy and it's not strength, it's power. So if you think of strength as being able to lift as much weight as possible, power is about using as much strength as you can as quickly as possible. Take like a squat, for example. If I loaded this bar up to maybe an 8 rep max and pushed really hard on that, that would be a really good stimulus to help me build muscle. If I went even heavier to maybe a 2 to 5 rep max, that would be an even better stimulus to build my max strength. But if I used no weight at all and just did a max vertical jump, that would be a really good stimulus for my body to build its explosive power, or its ability to produce force in a very quick instant, because we rarely get that kind of a stimulus when we're so focused purely on muscle building and trying to get the lats blowing up with blood. If you can't do chest to bar pull-ups, you don't have to. You could be using band assistance, you could use a machine assistance, you could do another movement altogether, or you could stay on a lat pull down and perform that exercise very explosively. The goal here is not the chest to bar pull-up, the goal is to be moving very explosively and demanding that your body activates all of its muscle fibers as quickly as possible. Next main exercise is more pull-ups, although we are doing them a little bit differently to the chest to bars. So chest to bars is all about power, explosiveness, and maybe an athletic component, whereas this is more of a typical hypertrophy, muscle building, weighted pull-up. So I'm still thinking as much explosive power as possible, but I physically can't do that because I'm being weighed down now. I'm also not getting as high, and I'm using a lot more control over the eccentric. I'm still going to build a lot of power and strength on this, and I'm still going to build a lot of muscle doing the chest to bar, but we are pushing a lot closer to failure here, just really eke out the real muscle building effect, whereas the first one, it's all about training the brain for power. So these are the John Meadows rear delt swing. Fantastic movement for not just your rear delts, but the upper back, because the goal is to use high reps and a heavy weight because of the partial range of motion here. If I was doing, say, a full range rear delt fly, I'd come all the way up to here, and I'd use maybe a quarter of the weight at best. What the heavy weight does is it still lets you load the delts sufficiently, but your whole upper back region gets this monstrous loaded stretch for the entire duration of the set. And this is just 20 reps, but John Meadows normally programs it for around 30 to 60 reps. And usually with a bench support, although you can do it standing as well. If your arms aren't growing and you're doing everything right, I guarantee that, not that you're doing everything wrong, but you can afford to work more on stability and creating more external blocks to your training to make sure that when you're training your arms, the only thing that fails is whatever's flexing your elbow, what's bending the arm from A to B. Most people when they're doing their curls, they're doing dumbbells, standing. They're doing dumbbell incline curl, they're doing barbell curls. Fantastic exercises. But there is also a lot more room for error, a lot more room for unmanaged cheating. And also, even if you weren't cheating, there is just more fatigue from those exercises because your body is worried about keeping itself stabilized in space. If you remove all of those variables, you're putting your body into a position where the only thing it can do is use your elbow flexors to contract and move the weight. And when you fail, the only thing that's failed at that point, that has to have failed, is the arms. And we know that the only thing that's going to create growth in your arms is getting close to those failure points to stimulate tension. So when that equation has been settled, there is no excuse to not grow your arms, apart from maybe you're not eating enough food, or maybe you're just not training enough, or you're training like a little bitch because you're not really pushing the failure. And that could be it as well. So today I'm doing just 2 exercises, one with a supinated palms up grip and one with more of a pronated grip. Both these exercises, what they have in common is stability. I've got that preacher bench behind my arms for the first curl, getting a full lockout, fully stretching everything out, slight pause there before contracting back up and really squeezing my arms on the way up to those failure points. And then on this laid back curl here, the pronated grip, my arms can move forwards, which I personally find helps me shift my focus into that arm a little bit better with a pronated grip. If I keep my elbows fixed back here all the time, I find it limits my ability to move. I've got no idea why. Maybe I'm sort of moving like a T-Rex or a weird chicken kind of thing. Who knows? But I find having my body stabilized but my arms still free moving allows for a good balance of stability and freedom to move how I like to move when I'm curling. Final exercise of the day is the one arm deadlift. Looks a little bit strange, but this is an exercise that really challenges your rotation at the spine, which is heavily undertrained by most people. So I don't think of this as a pure mass build like I would maybe like a deadlift or maybe a heavy row. This is trying to work the deep muscles around your spine called the QL. And it's working your erectors as well, more in that rotated position, which we don't usually go to. Very important for building a very strong, robust, resilient spine. Interesting thing is as well, when you're reaching like this in this rotation, you'll get an interesting stretch here through the upper back and the shoulder. Like it just feels different. Again, something that you're probably not training much, but you'll be surprised how strong you can get on this. I'm intentionally keeping things pretty light here, but I've seen people doing 4 or 5 plates on a one-arm deadlift, which is just absurd. You'll probably need straps for that. It takes a little bit of adjustment to find where the best grip placement is. So what I find, let me come around here for you guys, is you can see the bar here is perfectly centered. I don't grab right in the middle. I grab slightly more towards the side of my thumb. And I find that helps to balance things out. You'll also find your whole body just has to shift a little bit, where you're not going to be perfectly symmetrical. I slightly rotate the body around when I'm doing the exercise. You'll find what works best for you and your structure. What you're going for here is something that feels very, very stable, that has just that little element of rotation, just to expose your body, expose your spine, your upper back to some of those forces, which we experience in everyday life.